I've been encouraged over the last probably 18 to 24 months where we've seen a much higher proclivity of sophisticated account segmentation across med device, med diagnostics, DMEs, precision medicine, where they're taking it a much more serious effort of parsing out these accounts strategically with data. Where they stop, they end up with a spreadsheet. Where strategic account segmentation that is actually executable in the field comes in is when it's visual.
Thank you for joining us today as we talk about the business value of healthcare claims data. I'm Michelle Irving, SVP of Customer Experience with Map My Customers.
And I'm JT Rimby, SVP of Business Development with Map My Customers.
Today, we're talking about something that most teams have access to, but very few are truly using to its full potential: healthcare claims data. For field sales teams in med diagnostic and med device companies, the challenge isn't a lack of data. It's turning that data into something actionable, timely, and aligned to how you actually sell in the field. So in this session, we'll break down the real business value of healthcare claims data, starting with the gap between where most organizations are today and what's actually possible. We'll explore how leading teams are using claims data to prioritize the right accounts, identify growth opportunities, and have more informed, relevant conversations with providers. By the end, you should walk away with a clearer understanding of how to move from static data to dynamic action so your field teams can spend less time analyzing and more time selling with precision and purpose. But first, let's start with why is this topic even important to med diagnostic and med device companies?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. So firstly, that we have to realize there's really two camps of med device and med diagnostic companies to begin with. Those that have invested in healthcare data and those that have not. So the short answer, this data, it drives revenue strategically if done effectively. We'll dive into the ancillary benefits and how it actually drives revenue. But again, short answer, when used effectively, healthcare data is extremely valuable.
So let's start with, how does one actually know where they stand in the marketplace?
Look, knowing your current position is a foundational element of your business. Part of that is understanding your total addressable market. It helps make critical decisions. So with the healthcare data, you've got a much more reliable view of your TAM. With the healthcare data, you get to validate your total addressable market based on patient volumes, procedures, diagnostic codes. One of our favorite concepts that our current customer base leverages really, really faithfully is share of wallet. Bottom line, with share of wallet, you get to really understand how much business you actually have in a region within a healthcare organization, or even how much business at the provider level. Where do competitors stand? How much business do they have within a given practice or at a provider as well? It highlights expansion opportunities. Where should marketing efforts be deployed? This type of data helps us understand, should we split territories and add reps based on volume or opportunity? As if share of wallet isn't enough to highlight the value of healthcare data, that data can significantly help with forecasting and predictability, quota setting versus just guessing what those should be, strategic account prioritization, actually pointing reps to the most worthwhile providers or healthcare organizations. In short, without healthcare data, you're guessing and you're flying blind.
That all sounds like really critical information. So what does healthcare claims data actually allow you to see?
Yeah, a whole bunch if used effectively. So healthcare data equips you to see targeted specialties, procedural volumes, ICD-10 codes, patient volumes, referral counts, all at the healthcare organization level or even down to the provider level.
When done right, what becomes possible with healthcare data that isn't possible without it?
Yeah, I think diving back into the share of wallet example is probably most relevant. Sales leaders hear this all the time. JT, the outside sales rep, the territory manager, I come back and I get another order from Dr. Smith, and I'm touting how tight of a relationship I have with Dr. Smith. It's one of my top accounts. Dr. Smith just loves me. When in actuality, the order volume is great. We're getting 20 orders a month from Dr. Smith. But whenever you add on healthcare data and we learn that Dr. Smith's healthcare organization is actually doing 100 orders a month, we're realizing that JT only has 1/5 market share within that specific practice. So we then get to go back and say, good grief, there are 3 other providers that JT, the territory manager, is completely neglecting. I need to go in and find out who are the competitors that are actually earning 80% market share there. Furthermore, healthcare data helps me with account prioritization, helping reps spend time with the right practices and the right providers. Case in point, low decile accounts with low volume, sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. Low decile accounts should not be anchor appointments. Only see low decile accounts if they're in close proximity to your high or mid decile accounts. Lastly, this is extremely relevant. We see so many companies where reps just focus on the accounts that are in their CRM. And they ultimately, because they're not leveraging healthcare data effectively, they're not addressing their total addressable market whenever there are wonderful high decile providers or practices that just don't happen to be in their CRM yet. In short, done right, this becomes a sales execution layer where each stop is strategic with an actual top account.
All of that sounds really critical to the field sales reps in this space. So why has healthcare claims data historically been so difficult to use?
Oh yeah, I chuckle because I'm still blown away at how expensive it is. It's so valuable and it comes at a cost. It's a major financial investment. We regularly have customers coming to us having already invested low to mid 6 figures on healthcare data annually. It's expensive. Additionally, there's a major operational burden of managing and using it and bringing it to life where you can actually leverage it strategically. Acquiring the data, it's really only the first step. You clear the financial hurdle, then the real fun and challenge begins.
Why do so many teams struggle to get value even after buying the data?
Look, aside from the major investment financially, with working with one of those major clearinghouses for the data, only to ultimately end up with a gigantic spreadsheet that is updated quarterly. You can pay extra for monthly, but the manual effort required to parse through millions of rows of data and make it easily digestible and actionable. To put this in perspective, these file sizes, you have to think in terms of terabytes. I don't think I say terabytes really in any other aspect of my life. These are not CSV file attachments in an email. Oftentimes data analysts, they're needed to parse through this data. These are sophisticated files that require deep filtering and mining through the data to actually get the most out of it. Once you get the data in a good place through filtering, the challenge then becomes, what is the most effective way to bring this to life in the hands of the field rep? That's the challenge.
Okay, so let's say I've gone ahead and made the investment, I've purchased the data. Let's talk about what the data actually looks like once I receive it.
This is slightly redundant, but again, just to double down on it, millions of rows of data of claims, providers, referrals, procedural codes, volumes. It requires a very scalable infrastructure. Oftentimes our larger customers, they end up dumping all of this data into a data lake. Michelle, you leading the CS team, you deal with this a lot. What do you see?
Yeah, we do. We get very large amounts of data. So ours comes into an S3 bucket. And think of that S3 bucket as a container. It's like a digital hard drive folder. And then the data lake is the entire warehouse system that uses those containers to organize, manage, analyze massive amounts of data. So when you think about that, that is really important to be equipped with that type of structure in order to receive the volume of data you would when purchasing claims data. And so, what teams are then underestimating when they very first get access to the data is the storage and maintenance planning that's required. The fact that they would need a talented analyst or admin team of sorts that knows how to filter data in a way that presents an accurate picture that you would then need to execute on, and then how to distribute that data in a usable, accessible way to the right team members. So, all of that is really critical. But then from there, JT, why do you think most teams get stuck before making the data actionable once they have it?
Yeah, I've been here. I've been with my customers for 5.5 years now. I've done a lot of ride-alongs with our med device, med diagnostic customers. Um, at the risk of being dramatic, we regularly see these wonderful companies that have such innovative products that actually impact patient lives. They spend so much money, six figures, on healthcare data to ultimately get to the point where they send along a spreadsheet via email specific to each individual territory manager or rep. They pat them on the bum and say, go get them. Here's your list of target providers. And all we've done in that scenario is given this administrative exercise and logistical nightmare for reps to figure out where these providers are in relation to each other, where the practices are in relation to each other. And ultimately, it limits any semblance of an efficient plan of attack. What it does is it actually keeps the poor territory manager or rep sitting behind their computer versus being out in the field driving revenue for the company. So I'm very passionate about that part. I would also add, from a rev ops, from a sales ops perspective, dealing with clearinghouses, it can be time consuming. You can develop some nervous tics. It's frustrating. It's full of delays and back and forths. The administrative effort that goes in each month or quarter, depending upon the frequencies of updates, it's a very real and present annoyance.
Yeah, so let's take this in a little bit different direction now, because we've talked a lot about the data being actionable. What does that really mean? What does it mean for the data to be actionable?
I've been encouraged over the last probably 18 to 24 months, where we've seen a much higher proclivity of sophisticated account segmentation across med device, med diagnostics, DMEs, precision medicine, where they're taking it a much more serious effort of parsing out these accounts strategically with data. Where they stop is they end up with a spreadsheet. Where strategic account segmentation that is actually executable in the field comes in is when it's visual. So remember, this is not spreadsheet driven. We're now providing a visual strategic account segmentation for the rep that enables them to identify who to see and when to see them. Planning becomes way easier and efficiency becomes a daily reality. They understand account potential before they go into the account because they have that healthcare data in the palm of their hand. Mm-hmm. It enables them to optimize their time in the field by eliminating admin effort, which means driving more revenue for the company.
Yeah, those are all very true statements. So where does the breakdown typically happen between insight and execution?
So breakdown is not usually the data quality. Mm-hmm. It's operationalizing the data insights where the field can actually execute and use this consistently. So claims data lives with analytics, marketing, strat teams. They produce reports and dashboards for leadership. It is completely necessary. I'm not bashing leadership. They need that data too. But those insights, they don't translate into clear action for the field sales rep. The field sales rep is not starting their day with a dashboard behind their computer. What field reps are asking for is, what does the data say? And how do I execute on it? Who do I call today? And why? Give that to a field rep in a very easy manner, and you get some great execution there. Too often, this healthcare data sits outside of the tools that they're actually using. So, good grief, If you're putting them into a separate platform to interpret or digest the data and then decide what to do, it's not going to scale. Insights that live outside their standard toolkit, they become optional. Optional means ignored or neglected. Ignored means you wasted 6 figures of the gold mine investment. Michelle, what do you guys see on the CS side with this?
Yeah, well, what we see is that the volume of claims data can be overwhelming with the signals that it generates for the reps. So without clear prioritization and segmentation, the reps get overwhelmed. And then that results in the reps defaulting back to gut instinct. And that is not driving them in the direction that they need to go and what the data is telling them. So I've seen reps just want to be in motion, making progress, taking care of business versus parsing through a spreadsheet in order to be strategic. And then the other piece of this is that, with talking about the need to have data analysts and others that are organizing this data, parsing through it, getting it out of the S3 bucket and into a format that the reps can use it. By the time all that data is processed and analyzed and then distributed, it's stale. So field sales needs to be immediate and relevant. And if the insights are not delivered in a timely manner that is consistent and easily accessible, they lose their relevance, the field loses confidence and trust in the data, and that hinders adoption. So those are challenges that go into, all of that data interpretation, volume, et cetera. So with all of that being said, JT, how do you turn raw claims data into something meaningful? How do you do it?
You have to have the perspective of how does this data enable my sales team to execute in the field? And the only way you can do that is with visual account segmentation. And to have visual account segmentation, you kind of need some required transformations of this data in the first place. So being able to filter and strategically segment by ICD-10 codes, diagnosis codes, procedure codes, CPT, HCPCS, providers, organizations, and then obviously being able to split territories and see what's relevant to JT the rep versus Michelle the rep. And then without fail, the most common thing to do with all of those data sets is to do decile rankings across large provider sets. This is the simple process of tiering healthcare organizations and healthcare providers within given territories based on those volumes of patients, procedures, diagnosis codes, or referral volumes.
So what does it look like when the data is actually usable in the field?
So again, keep in mind, just in the back of your mind, comparing this directly to a spreadsheet experience, and we'll show you one here in just a little bit, but map-based visualization, being able to filter territories visually, envision pin colors automatically changing based on updated healthcare data. If patient volume increases and it goes from a decile 5 to a decile 8, JT the rep needs to know that, and I need to act on it quickly. Attaching insights directly into account records where reps can be informed when they walk in. All of this is so incredibly relevant where it actually impacts workflow enablement, where you can schedule visits based on that data and prioritize top accounts that ultimately drive efficiency and lead to revenue.
So let's walk through a real example of this.
All right. So if you're watching this, if you can zoom in, great. You'll get a better picture here. I have a very endearing view of outside sales reps. I call them fickle people. I mean that endearingly. I mean that very respectfully. But across all of the ride-alongs I've done over the last 5.5 years, outside sales reps, specific to med device, med diagnostic companies, DMEs, they need 2 things while they're in the field. Number 1, value. They need to look at a mobile-first platform and go, oh, that'll actually help me do my job. Followed immediately and very closely by, that's incredibly easy to understand or to leverage. Drawing your attention to the left screenshot here. Remember, we're comparing this to a spreadsheet, which is the most common way to disseminate this really valuable information right now. So we are attempting to do this strategic account segmentation visually with a really wonderful actionable layer here. So what you're looking at, you're seeing different colors and different shapes, and they all mean very significant things. Blue pins. These are my tier A top decile providers or healthcare practices or healthcare organizations. Those are the top deciles. My green pins, those are the mid decile rankings. My black pins, those are the low decile rankings. The whole premise of this is that if this were my territory, I would focus all of my anchor appointments across my whole territory of North Carolina around my top decile accounts. Those are the ones that are definitely going to be worth the squeeze. And then from there, I then go to all of my green accounts. And if I'm nearby any of the low decile accounts, that's when I stop in. But I do not structure my day around low decile accounts at all. Regarding shapes, there's a number of ways that you can use shapes strategically with this healthcare data. One of the ways is that much of our customer base would say, if sales orders drop month over month by 20% within a given practice or a given provider, automatically change that shape to a red star. And the whole goal there is to alert JT the rep, something is going on here, get back and see Dr. Smith immediately. So I have found this to ring true over the last 5 years across our customer base. But whether you're med device, med diagnostic, DME space, precision medicine, whatever it might be, we have found this to be a reminder-based sale. Once your reps have gone through awareness, education, building and nurturing a relationship, it really does become a reminder-based sale. Dr. Smith, he may very well love JT, but he's got a bunch of other things occupying his mind where patients present with something, and if some other rep from another company or a competitor was there recently, he might give the order to them. So that red star, that drop in order volume, I can run back to Dr. Smith, and we typically see our customers get the bounce back in revenue there. From our example earlier, where JT was boasting about Dr. Smith really loving him and just assured of Dr. Smith giving him all of the business. The rep believes this is a really high volume of account. And to be clear, averaging 31 referrals a month, that's certainly meaningful for the business. But when you overlay healthcare data, real market data, as to what's going on within this healthcare organization, it tells a different story. So right above average monthly referrals there of 31, you're seeing that this practice is actually at 98 per month. So JT, the rep, who says, Dr. Smith, he loves JT. What this is actually showing is I need to go wider within this account because there's actually 3 other providers in this account that are submitting and sending along referrals that we're not capturing. So a great example of one of our favorite customers, Precision Medicine, they use the mantra of breadth, depth, and frequency. So they use healthcare data very strategically. Breadth is JT, the territory manager, seeing all of the top and mid decile accounts? Do I have that blanketed? That's breadth. Depth. Am I going deep within each account to make sure that I have awareness, education, and built and nurture a relationship with all of the providers that can actually order and submit referrals? And then lastly, frequency. How often do I need to be in front of them to either continue to grow or at minimum maintain that same number of referrals? Leveraged well, this is a sales execution layer for your reps. The key takeaway is the perception versus the reality gap that the healthcare data provides in this example. And it really highlights the importance of objective data in such an actionable way.
Thank you for that example, JT. That was great to really be able to see it and visualize it and see what that means and how meaningful that can be. We've covered a lot here today. Let's summarize. What is the ultimate goal of investing in healthcare claims data?
We have covered a lot today. Look, making a major investment within healthcare data, whether you already have or whether you're considering it, we would encourage that you have to put it through the lens of a sales execution layer. How are you going to bring this to life for the reps, to bring it accurate, reliable data that they get to use in the field? For what it's worth, we have our own clearinghouse data. So if you don't have healthcare data yet, consider us. We're much lower cost than the traditional clearinghouses out there. Our data is updated monthly and automatically ingested to map my customers in that sales execution layer. If you do have healthcare data already, if you've already made that investment, bring it into Map My Customers. We can bring that to life for your reps to help them know who to see, when to see them in the easiest way possible. Would love to connect on that.
Absolutely. So, really, healthcare data is not just about access to the data. That actually might be the easiest part. It's about transforming that data into meaningful, deployable insights that drive revenue and field effectiveness. The organizations seeing real impact aren't the ones with the most data. They're the ones turning the data into clear, timely action that their reps can execute on every day. So now you have the opportunity to close that gap. If you're ready to move from insight to execution, we'd love to continue the conversation with you. Let's talk about how you can operationalize healthcare claims data in a way that drives measurable results for your team. So we're going to provide our contact information for you. You can jot that down and feel free to reach out. We would love the opportunity to talk to you and continue the conversation as we go forward.
Thanks a bunch. Thanks, Michelle.